Hey everybody, welcome back to Occult Perspectives. I am glad to be feeling much better. My voice is finally coming back to normal, and I think I might even try to play some guitar later tonight and do some singing. It's about 9:30, so typically I would be getting ready for bed at this time, but this is a good time, a good night for me to be productive. So I'm going to work on this video and also do some music tonight. Hope everyone is doing well. This video is going to be added to the Ceremonial Magic playlist. I'm basically, in this video, I didn't have anything too specific planned as far as any of the other video series playlists that I have going on. I basically just wanted to go over what I'm reading right now. And then we're going to jump into, I've got Modern Magic here, Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic, but we're going to skip ahead and actually talk about the Goetia and the magical evocation of spirits, which is lesson 9 in Modern Magic. But first of all, this is the first book. I got this book for Christmas. This is the 3 magical books of Solomon. The Testament of Solomon and his greater and lesser keys in one volume. And of course, 2 of the authors of this, part of the translations, Aleister Crowley and S.L. McGregor Mathers, who was one of the founders of the Golden Dawn. I think he's the one that did most of the translations, and it was able to become available, in 1904. The Lesser Key of Solomon by Samuel Little, McGregor Mathers, and Aleister Crowley. So around that time. There's a lot in this book. This is more advanced ritual work. This is for somebody who has been on the path for quite a while. That's beyond, way beyond doing just stuff like the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Pentagram. In the videos that I've covered on this channel, we've done the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram / Lesser Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram, the Middle Pillar, the LVX, and the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Hexagram. At some point, I will get around to the Rose Cross Ritual, and I think there's 1 or 2 others. There's the whole Watchtower Ritual, which I'm not very familiar with, and that's actually before in Donald Michael Craig's, the part that we're going to read tonight, Lesson 9, The Secrets of Magical Evocation of Spirits. So at some point we'll go back and we'll, the Rose Cross is actually covered in other books as well, one of Damien Eccles' books. I think it's the first one, High Magic. In that book, there's also, it reviews the Rose Cross Ritual. So it'd probably be good to reference Donald Michael Craig's book and Damien Eccles' High Magic when we go over the stuff like that. But we're just going to jump ahead. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this book. There's a lot to this, and I didn't read it super fast, but I read it like basically over the month of January. And I'm reading a new book this month called The Book of Raziel, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit as well. So basically, in the first book, or in the beginning of the book, it talks about, the whole, there's some like invocations and prayers, and then it talks about kind of what magic is. It reviews that aspect of things. We've talked in previous videos about what the definition of magic is. Donald Michael Craig lays it down pretty good. But then they start getting into like psychology, like Freudian type stuff, and how the demons are actually like aspects of our own mind, as we know from the law of mentalism and hermetics. Everything is a manifestation of the mind. So really summoning these demons forth in a way to physical appearance, which, as I've said before, this is pretty advanced stuff. I don't recommend this for anyone who is just getting into magic. It requires a lot of reading, a lot of purifying yourself. You need to get ready for these things so that you don't just let these forces run rampant and destroy you. You know, it's whether it's demons destroying you or whether it's darker aspects of yourself which are necessary, but you've also opened up and you're not ready to face and deal with them. That seems to be kind of what they're referring to in the beginning. And then it lists, here's all the different spirits. This is the lesser key of Solomon. So like you've got like Baal is the first demon, and then the seal is beneath the description of each demon. The second one is Agares, and then it gives a description here. It's pretty interesting. I'll just pick like a random one and read it. Some were way more interesting than others, like what the demons, you basically call them forth and then you request that they do something for you. And a lot of the times, I think these are the seals that you create, and you need to have them on you so that you're ready. Here, let's read number 20, Person, P-U-R-S-O-N, and if the seals are beneath, I think this would be the one. Yeah, so this is the seal that we're reading about right here. This guy up here is number 20. Person, the 20th spirit, a great king. His appearance is comely, like a man with a lion's face. Yeah, a lot of these demons, they manifest first as like animals, but then you kind of like calm them down, and it brings them to more of a like human appearance. A great king, his appearance is comely like a man with a lion's face, carrying a cruel viper in his hand and riding upon a bear. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe what these archetypes or these symbols, mean on a deeper level. Going before him are many trumpets sounding. He knoweth all things hidden and can discover treasure and tell all things past, present, and to come. So that's quite a bit of information that they're claiming that he knows. Pull this table forward just a little bit more. So there we go. He can take a body, either human or aerial. I don't know what it means by aerial, if that's, it's referring to the element of air, I'm assuming. It's spelled A-E-R-I-A-L. And answereth truly of all earthly things, both secret and divine, and of the creation of the world. So that's a lot of information, that's more stuff. He bringeth forth good familiars, and under his government there be 22 legions of spirits. 22 is a pretty symbolic number. I wonder if that has something to do with the 22, if there's 22 paths on the clipothic tree, which is the tree of life that actually is like reverse of the tree of life. I wonder if that has 22 paths, just like the tree of life does. There be 22 legions of spirits, partly of the order of virtues and partly of the order of thrones. His mark, seal, or character is this, unto which I just showed you, unto the which he oweth obedience, and which thou shalt wear in time of action, etc. So yeah, basically you need to wear these seals when you're calling these things forth, and that is part of what helps you, control the spirit. Let me go ahead and pick one more randomly. There's 72. Let's go with 71 here. Dantalion, and here's the seal for that one. And they all have interesting marks and stuff. I don't know much about sigils. I'm still learning about sigils and talismans, which actually comes way before you start messing around with this stuff. This is more just me learning it as I'm going, and I'm just reviewing it with you, and just studying ahead and seeing what these ceremonial magicians in the higher grades, like in the Golden Dawn, I know definitely in temples like the OTO and stuff, they work with like the Goetia and, bringing these beings forth to obtain certain things. As I've said before, I don't deal personally with these practices or anything, but I do know a few people who have experimented with Goetic demons, for sure. I'm sorry to get sidetracked again. Okay, 71, Dantalion. The 71st spirit is Dantalion. He is a duke, great and mighty, appearing in the form of a man with many countenances, all men's and women's faces, and he hath a book in his right hand. His office is to teach all arts and sciences unto any, and declare the secret counsel of any one, for he knoweth the thoughts of all men and women, and can change them at his will. That's interesting. That's a pretty, that's a lot of power. He can cause love and show the similitude of any person. I do not remember what the definition of similitude is. And show the same by a vision. Let them be in what part of the world they will. He governeth 36 legions of spirits, and this is his seal, which wear thou, etc., which you are supposed to wear. And this is a little interesting piece of lore. It's this whole idea, that this myth, this story, that Solomon basically had this vessel of brass, and all these spirits were sealed into the vessel, and then eventually the vessel ended up breaking open. It'll tell part of the story here. These be the 72 mighty kings and princes which Solomon commanded into a vessel of brass, and we just read 2 of them, together with their legions, of whom Belial, Beleth, and Asmodai, and Gap were chief. And it is to be noted that Solomon did this because of their pride, for he never declared other reasons why he thus bound them. And when he had thus bound them up and sealed the vessel, he by divine power did chase them all into a deep lake or hole in Babylon. And they of Babylon, wondering to see such a thing, they did then go wholly into the lake to break the vessel open, expecting to find great store of treasure therein. But when they had broke it open, out flew the chief spirits immediately, with their legions following them. And they were all restored to their former places, except Belial, who entered into a certain image, and thence gave answers unto those who did offer sacrifices unto him, and did worship the image as their god, etc. Okay, so Solomon put these spirits in this vessel, and then in Babylon, the vessel was put into a deep lake, or a hole there, the people of Babylon wondered to see such a thing, and then they went into the lake and they broke this vessel open, and then out come all these spirits. There's a couple shows I've watched on Netflix, which are of course like magical type shows, where that similar thing happens. I'm trying to think of the one show we were watching. We were just not watching it not too long ago. The Magicians is on there. Legacies is one on Netflix, and there's a couple other ones. I'm trying to think. Oh, The Witcher. A lot of you probably watched The Witcher. It was the bard dude. Like, he broke that vessel. I don't know if it was what kind of vessel it was. I think maybe it was a genie type deal, like a lamp, and then the spirit came out of it, and it messed them all up. Kind of a similar idea here, but of course, that's the Hollywoodized version of the occult stuff. I may not have all the answers here on occult perspectives, but I'm at least trying to read, these serious texts and these authors who really know, what they are talking about, and then comparing the information from different works, and I'm trying to bring it all together. On this page, they're talking about the vessel of brass that we were just talking about, and I'll show you a picture. It's like this little circle right here. This is the form of the vessel of brass wherein King Solomon did shut up the evil spirits, etc. Somewhat different forms are given in the various codices. The seal was made in brass to cover this vessel with at the top. This history of the genie, kind of, Genii, very different things, I'm pretty sure. Shut up in the brazen vessel by King Solomon recalls the story of the fisherman and the genie in the Arabian Nights. In this tale, however, there was only one genie shut up in a vessel of yellow brass, the which was covered at the top with a leaden seal. This genie tells the fisherman that his name is Sakar or Sakar. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to kind of skip ahead through a lot of this stuff in here. This is where you start calling forth these spirits, and the preparations and everything in this, it's a lot. You have to purify yourself, and then you basically give these long prayers after all this fasting and making sure you're keeping your body pure and eating right. Not when you're fasting, but when you do eat, you need to make sure it's all the good organic type foods. as I'm sitting here drinking my Mountain Dew, my sugar, not eating junk food, keeping the temple pure. And these long, as you can see, a lot of these prayers are like paragraphs long, using all these holy names of God. There's a lot of them. I don't know if I really want to read many of these right here. Maybe if there's one that stands out to me. But it's these long, prayers of getting ready. And then you start, trying to conjure forth these spirits or invoke them. And those are long, paragraph, a whole page long or 3 or 4 paragraphs of bringing these spirits forth. And if they don't come, there's also like these extra steps that you do. Like here's one. I'll go ahead and read this. After you've called forth these spirits, the conjuration of the fire, it just seems very intense. If these things do not come or they do not manifest to, a form that you can see, you keep, like goading these spirits on. It's quite crazy. I conjure thee, O fire, by him who made thee and all other creatures for good in the world, that thou torment, burn, and consume the spirit for everlasting. I condemn thee, thou spirit, because thou art disobedient and obeyest not my commandment, nor keepest the precepts of the Lord thy God. Neither wilt thou obey me, nor mine invocations, having thereby called thee forth. I am the servant of the Most High and imperial Lord of God of hosts, Jehovah, I, who am dignified and fortified by his celestial powers and permission, and yet thou comest not to answer these, my propositions here made unto thee. And it goes on and on. And then there's like another curse that you can give. It says, and if he come not even yet, thou shalt say as follows. So there's all these steps to bring these spirits forth, but eventually they're supposed to come forth. They give you the information you need, and you give them the license to depart. Okay. Alrighty. Conjurations. Yeah, more of these conjurations to bring these spirits forth. It's saying the holy names of God, and it's saying that, through, it keeps the power, that the thing that gives these rituals the power is they're using these divine names, and they're using this divine authority to command these spirits. The person has to be pure enough to know that they can use the power of God literally to command these spirits. They have the divine authority. We've talked about that in videos before. Particularly even in like the Dante series, that's a theme that is reoccurring, that we have this divine authority. It's even in line with the I Am teachings, but this ceremonial magic brings it forth in a powerful way, through the power of the Lord, etc., etc. Here's a conjuration. Even by him who spake it was, to whom all creatures are obedient, and in the extreme justice and anger of God, and by the veil that this is the glory of God, mighty, and by the creatures of living breath before the throne, whose eyes are east and west, by the fire, in the fire of just glory of the throne, by the holy ones of heaven, and by the secret wisdom of God, I exalted in power, stir thee up, appear before the circle, obey in all things that I say, in the seal, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. Bringing these things forth, yet more curses. One of them's really crazy because if the spirits don't come, you start like banging this bucket or something with a sword or a knife, if I remember right. The methods of punishing these spirits for not coming is interesting, and it says they should come forth from wherever they are in the land. They should come. They should be obedient unto you when you call them forth. I think I was on the lesser key before. Yeah, I'm getting into just flipping through. I'm in the key of Solomon now. A lot of advanced stuff. A lot of these rituals are weird too. They're very archaic. Like if I come across one that I see, there's many where you like sacrifice, an animal, and then that's how you use like the quill. You got to get the quill right. You pluck it from a bird just right. And then You need like the right paper, and a lot of these things require like little animal sacrifices. It's very strange. And then you use like the blood from the birds. I'm not like coming across any of these. You should be able to find, you know, the Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Greater Key of Solomon, and the Testament of Solomon, probably all on sacred texts, or elsewhere online for free. I'm sure there's PDFs on a lot of different websites. If you want to look into this book and, you know, read, because if you're like me, when I read something like this, even though it's a lot of advanced stuff, I'm picking up tidbits and stuff of lore that I've learned before, whether it be from just biblical stuff or Masonic stuff or whatever ritualistic stuff, and then combine, you know, it just creates more connections and synapses in the brain. More synchronicities are basically coming to fruition. You're getting more understanding, more conjurations, and see, some of these are actually very long. And it's talking about the generations of, you know, Adam, and talks a lot about Noah. You know, this is, you know, here we go. So that ye may execute and accomplish our demands. This is like the middle of the conjuration. With all mildness and courtesy, by that ineffable name which Moses heard and invoked, which he received from God from the midst of the burning bush, we conjure you to obey our commands and to come unto us promptly with all gentleness of manner. It just goes on and on. So many angel names they invoke. And I didn't really get into, at the beginning of this, talking about this book either. There is a spot in this book somewhere where it talks about, it's the lore of like how King Solomon was given the ring. I believe it was must have been like a ruby ring from the Archangel Michael or something, or maybe it wasn't ruby, but it had it has the pentagram on it, I believe, or maybe Pentalpha is the name for it, but that's the ring that he used to basically bind and control these demons. So this is all like Solomonic lore. It's super interesting. There's something about Michael here, but that's not that story right there. Yeah, there's things about using like the spirits of the earth, which are gnomes, to help you, you know, seek treasure and basically have it dug up. It's so interesting. There's so many different things. I know there's a magic carpet ritual in here as well. Like you burn some fire next to this, you know, specific carpet that you lay out, and you're able to like astrally travel from the sounds of it. It's just really advanced stuff, and quite interesting to read. This is definitely the term armchair occultist definitely comes to mind when it comes to this advanced stuff, because I just work with white magic, and I basically just use the energies more to protect myself and for spiritual sustenance, as Damien Eccles and other spiritual teachers like to describe it. Yes, it's definitely getting about my bedtime. Just trying to kind of stay awake here and get some things done. Let's see. Yeah, it talks a lot in here. I'm seeing how the master, there's like a leader or a master who runs these ceremonies, basically the one preparing everything, getting everything ready. And he can also take disciples with him, which stand in certain parts of the triangle. The master has his spot, the disciples have their spot, but everyone needs to be purified of mind, body, and spirit. And it talks about like consecrating, you know, taking baths and using all these oils, and you know, rubbing and anointing. The master anoints the disciples. They even talk about, you know, some people would use children. They would take children with them during these ceremonies to call these demons forth, because the children were more clairvoyant. Some people use an animal like a dog and take the dog with them, because once the dog would bark, I would assume that would notify the magician that, you know, the spirits are coming near. Yeah, there's just so much in this book. I'm trying to really nitpick out some stuff, but having a hard time. I'll just read some of the top parts. the headings of the formation of the circle, chapter 9. Chapter 10, concerning incense, suffumigations, perfumes, odors, and similar things which are used in magical arts, of water and of the hyssop, of light and of the fire, how to basically prepare all these things for the ceremony. Getting the companions ready, building them up, essentially giving them a charge so that they're ready, a verbal charge, preparing them for what is about to take place. Okay, here, this is interesting. I'll probably, maybe this one's more interesting. I'll just go ahead and read this one. I was talking about the pen before that they use on writing. Oh, here we go. This one was really weird. Of the blood of the bat, pigeon, and other animals, a living bat, and exercise it thus. You use all these holy names, which I'm not going to read out, and the other names of angels which are written in this book. I can't pronounce it. There's a lot of things. It's called the Sefer HaSamiim, and that's the footnote title of that book. That's not even the real original language. I conjure thee, O bat, or whatever animal it may be, that thou assist me in this operation by God, the true God, the holy, the God who hath created thee, and by Adam, who hath imposed thy true name upon thee and upon all other animated beings. After this, take the needle or other convenient instrument of art, as will be said later on, and pierce the bat in the vein which is in the right wing, and collect the blood in a small vessel, over the which thou shalt say, Almighty Adonai, all these, God names. Some of them being very familiar. A lot of them you'll recognize from, the Lesser Banishing Ritual, the Pentagram, or the Middle Pillar. It's the same with the angel names in a lot of these books. You'll recognize, the 4 elemental angels. You'll see them, Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, and Oriel, or Metatron, and Sandalphon. But you'll see a lot of other angel names as well. Same thing with the God names. There's lots of these God names. Once you collect the blood in a small vessel, over which you say all these God names, O God, the Lord, immaculate, immutable, more names, be my aid, so that this blood may have power and efficacy in all wherein I shall wish, and in all that I demand, perfume it and keep it for use. The blood of other winged animals may be taken in the same manner with the proper solemnities. Note by editor, I cannot too strongly impress on the readers of this volume that the use of blood is more or less connected with black magic, and that it should be avoided as much as possible. Yep. It's, I think a lot of these, really back in archaic times, there were a lot of, especially if you look at books like, this is very much, a lot of these rituals are very much in line with the 3rd book of the Bible, Leviticus, because that's like actually where a lot of the rituals that took place in the tabernacle with Aaron and such, the priesthood, took place, and it talks about the operations like the sprinkling blood and all this stuff. A lot of that type of magic is just very crude, and I don't think it's necessary. It's like you can accomplish those same things through other means. You don't have to do something that's so, it's a little barbaric, it seems like to me. Even if you are using it for a noble purpose, a lot of these, when you're doing that act, you call upon God to bless the act, and to put His energy into it, and through the auspices of God, that it's okay to do it, essentially. Here was another one. This one's just, take the feather of a swallow or of a crow, and before plucking it thou shalt say, may holy Michael, the archangel of God, and 2 other angels I don't know, the chiefs and captains of the celestial army, be my aid in the operation I am about to perform, so that I may write herewith all things which are necessary, and that all the experiments which I commence herewith may through you and through your names be perfected by the power of the Most High Creator. Amen. After this thou shalt point and complete the pen with the knife of the art, and with the pen and ink of the art thou shalt write upon its side the name Anaireton. Not sure how to say that. And thou shalt say over the following psalms. And there's 2 psalms. And I don't know how to read those Roman numerals. Those are quite advanced. CXXXIII and Psalm CXVII. I know VII, that's 7. And with an X, it would be 17. But the C, I don't remember what that is. Okay. So that's enough about the information on the key, the Greater Key of Solomon. And in the back, the smallest book, it seems to be, well, not really, because the pages they're more word dense. There's less illustrations and such. But the Testament of Solomon, there's a lot of lore in this about the different angels and how Solomon might actually, let's see here. Solomon goes into the nearly completed temple and prays for help to the Lord Sabaoth. Grace is granted him, and the archangel Michael brings him a ring, of which the stone was engraved with a pentalpha. That was the word I was looking for, I believe. This ring endows its possessor with power over all demons. Armed with it, Solomon calls up before him all the demons and asks of each in turn his or her name, as well as the name of the star or constellation or zodiacal sign, and of the particular angel to the influence of which each is subject. One after another, the spirits are vanquished and compelled by Solomon to aid in the construction of the temple. Solomon to aid in the construction of the temple. That looks like a typo or something there. Yeah, it just duplicated it. Ornias is the first demon to appear, and he is set down to hew stones. Next appears... So basically, when it goes through this whole Testament of Solomon, all these different demons come forth, and then he asks, what is it that bothers you? And then he, binds them. He basically gains information from them, which angel names bother them. It's like these angel names repulse them, basically, these demons. And then a lot of them, like the name of Christ, anything to do with Christ. Basically, the name of Christ is so powerful, basically any of those negative energies, they don't like that. They don't like what that represents, it seems like. Okay, so I feel like that wasn't bad for just a quick review of this book. Just flipping through it, and hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of the books of Solomon. And like I said, it's free online. You should be able to find it if you want to read it for free, or get it on Amazon. I think with the time that we have left, we're already at 32 minutes. I will talk about the book of Raziel next time, just because there's so much neat lore in it already, and I'm only on page 38. But this book, I can't remember if I had mentioned it in a prior video, but it comes from the Archangel Raziel, and he's actually one of the archangels on the Tree of Life. He's the Archangel of Hokmah, which is the divine masculine, and it would be the top of the pillar of Yakin or Jachin in Freemasonry. It's the divine masculine Sephiroth on the Tree of Life, and he is the keeper of secrets, and he holds a giant book, and it records all the deeds. And it says that part of the lore is that when all the souls basically ascend back to source or to heaven, the book will be closed finally. And Raziel also has some other deep significances that we'll talk about in a later video. But for now, we'll keep that a secret, and that kind of is runs in line with the theme of Raziel himself. He's a very cool angel if you look up the lore of Raziel, and I didn't know about him for a long time, but I'm sure he's known about me, and he knows about all of us, of course. Okay, so I'm going to read, since we don't have much time left, I'm going to read just a little bit on the evocation of spirits. Since Donald Michael Craig, older books like this that are, translated texts and old, ritual documents, is, to jump into stuff like that's not a good idea. You need, a curriculum like Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic. There's a couple other ones, but from what I've read and from what I've seen, read little clips from other Kabbalah books that people have recommended to me, this one seems to be the best starting point. Israel Regardie's Middle Pillar and the Tree of Life books, those are also good starting points too. But for a full, well-rounded curriculum, Modern Magic is my recommendation. Couldn't recommend it enough, you know. And I think even the first, maybe not the second version of the book, this is the second version of the book, but the first version of the book you should definitely be able to get online for free. And it should have most of what's in the second edition. Okay, in the Goetia, at the end of the first conjuration, to call forth any of the spirits listed in the book, it advises, if the spirit come not yet, say as followeth. Then the book gives another summoning or evoking conjuration, at the end of which it says, if he come not yet, at the rehearsal of these first two conjurations, but without doubt he will, say on as followeth. This is followed by commands rather than requests for appearance. Commands that are filled with and followed by a series of rather nasty curses. See, and that's what I was... It's funny, like I knew this was a good starting point, but I didn't know it was literally going to summarize everything that I just kind of worked through, so that actually works out perfectly. That's really cool. To me, this just did not make sense. If all entities in the universe follow certain cosmic laws, they must appear when they are called. Otherwise, magic would not be a science, and there could be no such thing as a magical system. Obviously, something must be missing. So Donald's about to give us the key here, or the answer. In my studies of this and other ancient grimoires, I learned that virtually none of the grimoires, the ancient texts on magic, were complete. Yeah, it seems to be, when you read a lot of these older things, it seems to be a lot of bits and pieces, and it's not like one complete, linear, coherent system. Continuing in modern magic. I decided to think about this from a more historical point of view. As recently as a century ago, students of magic didn't just pick up a book and start practicing. Rather, they would train under the guidance of a teacher or mentor, someone who learned magic in the same teacher-student method. Damien Eccles talks about this a lot. It's this current of knowledge that is passed from teacher to student, and that student becomes a teacher, and to the next, teacher to student, that line of continuing that information. And traditions like, Freemasonry or whatever else it is, there's so many different traditions and groups out there. There's multitudes of different things. Whether it's a Buddhist tradition, this information gets passed down. There's more group versions of this, as in Freemasonry and such, where it's a group or a fraternity or a gathering or a brotherhood of people spreading this information. But then there's individual practitioners where it's one master, one student kind of deal. And a lot of the more secret, I would say a lot of the more esoteric or super secret information would be more of this one-on-one basis, this one master, one student kind of deal. So if a student was not expected to learn magic from a book, what exactly were these grammar books of magic? It became clear to me that these books were meant to be guidelines and tips for the students. They were meant to give in written form those items that could not be quickly memorized nor repeated so frequently that rote memorization would occur. That means the real secrets of magic consist of what was not included in the ancient texts, which makes sense. A lot of times today, even though in ancient times the information was only told from mouth to mouth, or from mouth to ear, it was not written down at all. But a lot of groups now, they've written down things, so you have the entire information. But back then, it was only, mouth to ear, not written down, and then they did have to write a bunch of additional notes, because there's a lot, to memorize and to keep track of, and I don't care how good your memorization is, like, you're going to have to pull, some notes out sometimes when you're doing an operation that's this long. The LBRP and stuff like that, we can memorize that, but a lot of this stuff, it's just so advanced, like, even just creating, like, the magic circles and stuff, I imagine can only be, it's so tough. There's so much to it, it's so advanced, so this makes sense. Whatever those things are, the real secrets of magic, not included in the ancient texts. Whatever those things are, combined with what is in the grimoires, form the real workings of practical magic. So what is it that every student of magic needs to know in order to work with the grimoires? After years of study, practice, and analysis, I came to the conclusion that there were just 3 primary things a student of magic had to memorize internalize, and be able to do. These three things are, and they seem simple, and there's different ways of doing them. But we're at 39, we're almost at 40 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and read these three things that he says. These three primary things a student of magic had to memorize, internalize, and be able to do, and then we'll go ahead and end this video. 1. The development of a positive attitude about success with magic. You know that it works. There's no doubt in your mind. You are the divine manifested in a physical form, and you are able to pull those energies from the higher realms into the lower realms. You have the ability to manifest whatever it is you need to. 2, the ability to generate or raise magical energy. So not only believing in it and knowing in it that it's going to work, but the ability to actually bring this energy into, a dense enough, form. You're able to raise it up, through these practices, manipulation of energy. And that's number 3, actually, the ability to manipulate and direct the raised energy. And in the next video, if we start here, I don't know when we'll get back to this type stuff, the Goetia and Ceremonial type stuff, but we'll examine each of these concepts in the next video when we get back to this. Not sure what I will cover next time. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about the Book of Raziel, but I may jump back over to Dante or cover maybe the Hiram Key. I haven't touched on that in a while, and that's the series that I'm the furthest in as far as completing the book, I would say. But it's still going to take a long time. There's so much information to give out that I can give out because it's all just sharing information that authors have already written, a lot of them being Masonic authors, and combining these understandings with different practices like ceremonial magic, explaining the differences and such. And that's actually one of my new projects, is I am writing a book. It is called Occult Perspectives on Freemasonry and Ceremonial Magic, and it explains the difference between Freemasonry and Ceremonial Magic, what they are and what they aren't, a little bit of history on them. I give a little bit of autobiography and my experiences from Freemasonry in it, and how I learned about and got into ceremonial magic, and how I have combined kind of both influences. I've stayed active in Freemasonry and doing these as a solitary practitioner. I do ritualistic magic or ceremonial magic. I don't work with a group. I don't belong to any other orders really besides the Freemasons. I have visited an OTO temple once. That was a very, very unique and interesting experience. And I have talked and am friends with a Golden Dawn adept that used to be in, I don't know where the Golden Dawn Temple, I think she lives out in Oregon. It's either Oregon or Washington. I want to say they live in Washington. So not sure if the Golden Dawn Temple was out there in that area, but being able to exchange energy with a student from that mystery school has been wonderful. It's all been great. I've been learning so much. A lot of what this channel about is just pulling this information together so that you can learn about more topics, and then what you learn from here, you can go and do more research. There's other YouTubers out there that do incredible presentations on all this stuff way better than I can. Authors that have written books that are just so amazing. There's just so many great people out there that are doing the great work, that have a passion for this kind of a thing, and that just really want to spread the light and help manifest heaven here on earth, because it is very doable. Donald Michael Craig said is that the thing about magic is having a surety that it will work, having a positive attitude, knowing that we are doing this, we are doing the great work. We're all coming together in peace, love, and prosperity. It is a very exciting thing. Peace and love, everybody. Take care. I will be back on here as soon as I can. Love you.